everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Worries and Wine. It's your girl Fluffy, and as you guys can see, I have my wonderful co-host today, Liv Marie.
Hi, so good to be here.
Yes, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Oh, look at she's beautiful as she want to be, y'all. Go ahead. Okay. Y'all already know us two together is already a crazy mix. So we're here and we are definitely back with another episode, you guys. And so before we get started, I always like to make sure that you guys know about my wine choice for today. And I always make sure that it is affordable. So today I am having a Sutter Home Chardonnay, as you guys can see. I have the small bottle because I stole it from my mom. Don't tell her. Oh, wait, I just did. That's my business. Mine's yours. Okay. And Liv, what do you have for us?
I've been waiting. First of all, I've been waiting to be on the show. So I've been having my wine together, Stella Rosa Black.
Okay, yes. Which is one of my faves. Y'all know if y'all watch season one, you guys know that Stella Rosa is like my all-time favorite. So good choice right there. Good choice. All right. So before we get started, let's share with the big. Okay, no worries. Y'all, this Chardonnay is definitely.
This is really good.
I'm glad you like it. See, I'm only gonna recommend stuff that I really do like, y'all. For real. All right, y'all. So more recently, because you guys know I do work in the homeless population, what I have been seeing is an increase in domestic. I get a lot of reports on a day-to-day basis that women are seeking out domestic shelters, or they're seeking out refuge because they're trying to flee a domestic situation. So if in the event that today's episode happens to be triggering for you, I ask that you please log off and please wait to watch it when you're with someone comfortable, or to not watch the episode if it would be triggering for you at all. So please do take it serious, or watch it in segments. Watch a little now, then watch a little later, so it's not too much for you, because this is such a heavy topic. But again, you guys know about Worries and Wine. It is everything that we worry about, friends, family, or for someone else, or however the situation may be. So with that being said, Liv, we wanted to talk to you today because I do know a bit of your history. We have been friends for almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 years. So we've been friends for quite some time, and she's been able to share her story. So I'm going to let you share a little bit about your experience with domestic, and we're just going to have a conversation based around that.
Okay. So, first to start, my mom was in a domestic relationship probably the majority of my life.
Wow.
And, as kids, when you're growing up and you see something that your mom, shouldn't be doing or shouldn't be in, you tend to have the mentality of, I don't want to be like her. So we end up being exactly like them.
Come on.
Exactly like them. So it was 2015 through 2017. I got into a relationship with somebody I've known my entire life. Like somebody I didn't think that would ever be capable of doing the things that they did. And I ended up leaving my family in New York and going all the way to Arizona. Wow. And living with them in Arizona, just me and him. And it was ugly. It was ugly. At first it was like super, super nice. It was good living together. We're finally together. We've been wanting to be together for the majority of our lives. He knows my history. He knows my past. He knows what I've been through. So the fact that you put me through the same thing that I have already been through as a child was just like, wow. It was like a real eye-opener. And it was just, at first, it started with like little lies, like little tiny lies, little white lies, lies of omission is still being a lie. You're omitting information from me that is very important, but you're still lying. You're still lying. And when I started to catch on to the lies is when it started to get ugly, because now I'm ready to expose you. So
just the confrontation alone brought out a different side of him that you had absolutely no idea had even existed.
Yeah, it was ugly. This person that I was with lied about having cancer. to the point where, like my grandfather died from cancer. I have
Right.
a lot of family members who died. My great grandmothers both died from breast cancer. There's been a lot of cancer in my family, and what not forced me, because I'm an adult, I make my own decisions, but
Right.
what made me want to move there is because you have cancer. I don't want you to go through it by yourself.
You by yourself.
You know what I mean? So I was working. I told him he don't have to work. I'll pay the bills, just go to chemo. I'm picking you up and dropping you off at a chemo center. You're telling me, this is very vulnerable for me. So I don't want you to come in with me. And me being the person that I am, my grandfather was the same way. You don't want me to be with you because it's very vulnerable to be in that predicament. So I understand. I'll just pick you up when it's over. This whole time, I'm paying for you to get chemotherapy, thousands and thousands of dollars for chemotherapy, and you're not going to chemo. To the point where his mom, she started to, like, where is this? Like, have you seen anything when you were out there? Because I've been sending care packages. Didn't know you were sending care packages. I haven't seen any care packages. But you're getting care packages from your mom. And I'm like, you know what? Now that I think about it, I haven't seen any medications. He said before I came out there, he had a bone marrow transplant. There's no scars. There's no paperwork. There's no nothing. So it really I started to open my eyes to the issue. Because at first you don't want to believe that person is lying to you. So right. Like, maybe they just have it in a separate drawer or something. Girl, I turned up that whole house. Nothing.
Wow. So you stayed with him. Because it sounds like you stayed with him even after the cancer part was a lie.
Even after I found out it was a lie. And at first, I was angry. We took a break from each other. This is actually when he wiped out my account, my entire account. That's when the first altercation happened. You wiped out my entire account. All the money that was supposedly for your chemotherapy, you wiped it completely out. Who knows what you did with it? I don't know. And after a while, like, because this is somebody I love, my heart belongs to you. I'm all in. You say you're all in. I go back, and from people on the outside, it's like, girl, you're dumb. Like, you're dumb. I could never. But I don't ever want somebody to think that you can never be in that situation, or that could never be me.
No, you can't say that, because you know what? We get put in situations all the time, and only you know what you're going to put up with. Right. So, and it's sad, because that does happen a lot. There's a lot of people that will watch and be like, oh, girl, this girl is stupid. I would have never went back. And it's like, you don't know what you would do in that situation. So I try to make sure that this is a very free of judgment zone. Like, there's no judging here, because this is, I can understand, because I've been in my own situations where it comes down to, what are you going to put up with, and are you going to stay, and are you going to stick around? So you chose to stay. So how did this end up being where it's now being like physical? This is where did the mind game started? So we're already seeing the mental, because he's already playing you with using your money, using you, to clean the household, using you to work, and he is out here hanging around with his friends or whatever he's doing while you're at work and while you're dropping him off for chemo. So we already see the mental in a role.
Right. It became a thing when I started to confront it. Like, start asking, so how was chemo? There was one day that I didn't pick him up. It was somebody else who went and picked him up. His best friend went to go pick him up. And so I said, how's chemo? Are you okay? And it was like, he knew in his mind, he just knew, like, when a female starts asking you questions, they already know the answer. They're waiting for you to lie. So he was like, it was fine. Why are you asking? And I was like, I always ask you how chemo is. So when he gave me that answer, I'm like, let me start digging a little bit more, because you're acting weird now, and I don't like that. So when I started to confront it, like, where's your medication? What medication do you have to take? Because everybody knows when you're sick, you have medications you have to take on a daily basis. So I'm asking him, where's your medications? What is this medication for? What is this medication for? How much is this medication going to be? And you're only giving me the price. I don't know where your medication is. Where's your medication?
Right. If you're supposed to be picking it up, if you're supposed to be taking all this medication, why is it not here in the house?
Why isn't it in the medicine cabinet where all the medicine is? Why don't you have it in your toiletry bag where you keep everything else? Where is your medication? So when I started to confront that, the immediate response was to put your hands on me.
Oh, wow.
There was no argument. There was no just, I'm asking you a question. You either try to divert from that conversation or you're putting your hands on me.
Wow. So it just was like you're asking a question and the next thing you know, you're being hit for no reason or shoved or pushed or however it happened.
Yeah. And the thing is like, he's tall as hell, like tall as hell. Right. You're bigger than me. So already you have an advantage on me. Men are stronger than women. You know what I mean?
Yes. It doesn't matter how the physicality of the body is. Men are naturally stronger than women.
Right. Yes. So it's like when I start to ask you, you know, and you're just hitting me, I'm in shock. My immediate response is now we're gonna fight. Like now I'm gonna put my hands back on you. But me putting my hands back on you, you're still stronger than me. So if you want to hold me down, if you want to kick me, you want to punch me in my chest and my ribs, anything, you're going to win the fight. You know what I mean? So that was the first fight. Like it was the very first fight. I'm asking you questions about.
So you can even ask him a question and he was just like,
don't question.
That was his way of dealing with it. And it wasn't even your fault. Like, I think it's important to say that it was not your fault. That situation was just, you know, he was a liar and he was caught and that was his first reaction and it had nothing to do with you. And I think it's important to note that.
Yeah.
Wow. That is, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That I am sorry for that.
It was bad. I mean, at the first fight, it was just like, when he first initially put his hands on me, we got into a fight. Like we got into a whole brawl to the point where it was a portion of the fight where I actually fell on the ground. And when I fell on the ground, I couldn't get back up. There was glass everywhere on the ground from being thrown and everything. So I couldn't get back up. And he just comes over and he's kicking me in my ribs. He's punching me in my face, like to the point where I'm literally in a position where I cannot get up off the ground. And when I try to get off the ground, you punch me again to where I'm back up on the ground. So when that situation happened, it resulted actually in our neighbors busting in our door.
Wow.
Because they heard what was going on. He had took my phone because I kept saying, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call my mom. I need to get out of here. I need to get out of here. He took my phone and he put it in his pocket. And I'm trying to cut the phone out of his pocket and I cut him. His finger. And that made him even more mad because now he's
like, I'm physically hurt and he could see it.
Now there's blood everywhere. It's on the ceiling. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And that's when the neighbors came in and was like, is everything okay? And I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, like, break in the door, break in the door, break in the door. And they broke in the door. They already had the cops on their way. They hurry up and grab him up. And, you know, I finally get up. But I'm in such a shock. Like, I'm so scared.
Because now you're like, did this really just happen? Like, is this whole situation, because it's almost like it's an out of body experience almost.
It is. I feel like I can see it. I'm looking at myself get beat on the ground, and I'm yelling to myself, you know, get up, like fight him. Like, you're from the jungle, get up and fight him.
You're from the concrete jungle.
Get up and fight him. And I just did it. I was defeated. I was completely defeated, and it took not only a toll on my physical, but it took a toll on my mind, like so bad, like to the point where I'm just like, why am I not enough? Why did you have to lie to me? I have all these.
That's sad that you had to question yourself though, because the first thing that you said just now was, why am I not enough? And here's the thing though, it was maybe you were too much.
Yeah.
You know, and it's unfortunate that, you know, when we're going through situations like this, we don't know how to reframe and, you know, train our mind to think positive, like, no, I was doing what I was supposed to do. I was doing what I thought was right. And then the question was still, why am I not enough?
Yeah.
So there's a level of self-esteem that plays a role in this, right? So what did that do for your self-esteem in this situation? Because obviously police were called, and then you said that was only the first altercation.
I was one of the first altercation. I immediately told them, like, I do want to press charges. But when it came down to going to court, I dropped all charges because this is the person that I love. I don't want to see you down and out bad. But the entire time of me trying to recuperate from that is not eating, not sleeping. I'm diving myself into work, but I'm covering up all these scars. I'm covering up all these scars, physically, mentally, emotionally. I'm covering up all these scars with makeup, just makeup. And at the time, I only had one friend in Arizona, and I had ended up staying with her. And the entire time, like, I'm waking up in the middle of the night. I have nightmares. I'm looking over my shoulder.
So there's a level of PTSD that came along with it, the post-traumatic stress. Like, this situation happened, but now it's trickling over to, am I sleeping correctly?
Yeah. And it's 4 years later. 4 years later, and even if, like, me and my boyfriend now, even if he, like, goes to, like, put his hand up, not to, like, hit or, like, go grab something or reach something, my immediate thing is to flinch. Like, why is your hand in my sight? You know what I mean?
Right.
So even till this day, and I tell people, especially because I've been doing therapy ever since then. So when I come into contact with somebody who is going through the same thing that I just came out of, I always tell them, like, healing is a continuous process. It's continuous. It's never going to be a time you might feel like you're okay, but there's only going to be one thing that needs to trigger it for you to feel like you're not okay.
Yeah.
So
it's an ongoing process. It's something because you can't believe that it happened, and then there's a lot of time that's spent with questioning yourself as to why did I let this happen to me? Because we watch movies all the time where you see, like, for instance, the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez, and you see this guy, he comes up to her and he's like the savior, and she's like, okay, her Prince Charming, and they have a nice life, and then he hits her the first time. And we're like, oh, he wouldn't be able to do me like that. Like, and it's just like, it doesn't happen that way. It did, because there's feelings involved. It's easy for us to say that now because we're on the outside looking in. So we don't have that first choice. But when it's someone that you love and they do something to you, your immediate response is to want to forgive after the situation has happened. Yeah. So let me ask you this, Liv. How long did you stay in that situation?
I think I stood in it for a year longer.
For about a year longer. Wow.
Yeah. So I went through about 2 to 3 years dealing with it. The first year was fine. The second year is when it started. And then I stood an extra year. And the entire time, in my mind, I'm letting go. In my heart, I'm letting go. But I still love you and I still care for you. We have history. Still want to be with you. I just can't be with this version of you. And I feel like as people, especially that's in domestic relationships, they tend to fall in love with the potential a person has or what they could be instead of exactly who that person is. So in my mind, all I see is this perfect man from the first year of our relationship. And
you're still holding on to that. Like, he's somewhere in there.
Yeah, he's something, like, when I look in your eyes, I can see him. But when I'm looking in the mirror at myself, I know that's not you.
So so once you stayed in it and you approached that third year, what was the final conclusion? What was the incident that said, if I don't leave, I'm literally going to die? Like, what was that breaking point for you?
Believe it or not, my uncle passed away. I went home for a little while. It really took a toll on me because this is my godfather. This is a person who played as a father.
And this is the tattoo that you have on the arm, correct?
Yes, this is the tattoo. But it was after that I had came home, and everything was fine when I first got there. But because I'm grieving, it's a problem for you. You think something's wrong with me. You think I'm looking at you funny. You think
Wow,
not
his
trusting
own guilt.
your
His
own
own
guilt.
guilt.
And you got your own insecurities. And because I'm
Mm,
grieving, I don't want to talk. I just want to crawl in a ball and cry half the time.
right.
I can't be me, the happy, cheery,
Mm-hmm.
motivating me that I usually am. And we get into a fight again. And this time, you throw a glass bong at me, believe it or not. A glass bong at me, and it cut me. I'm cut all over my body, just cut with glass because it's stuck in me. It's in my feet. I can't walk. I can't do. It's in my ankle where I'm literally limping because I can't stand on it. I'm literally getting crucified by this bong, and I'm standing by the kitchen, and I'm standing by the sink, and there's pots in there that I have to wash. I've already rinsed them out. I'm just getting ready to wash them. And you throw it at me. So I take it and I throw whatever is in it at you. So now we're in there fighting because I'm at a point where I'm about to black out. I'm about to, it's so scary to be in a position where you don't care whose life is in front of you. You don't care that
he doesn't care about you at that point because he's, anytime that I say that you're about to fight someone, you are in fight or flight mode, and it is about it's literally to kill or be killed.
Yeah.
Right. And is that what you felt?
That's what I'm feeling in my mind, and at this point, I'm completely blacking out. I don't care whose son you are. I don't care whose nephew you are. I don't care whose brother you are. It's me or you, and I'm going to choose me every time.
Right.
So I'm standing there, and I grab the nearest knife, and I just stab you in the shoulder, just to get you off of me. Just stab you in the shoulder, and you take it out, and now the knife, it's me versus the knife. You know what I mean? And I'm telling myself, I gotta get out. Like in my mind, while you're fighting me, I'm telling myself, this is it. This is it. This is it. And went as far as to say, I'm gonna piss on your uncle's grave. And when you said that, all bets are off. You can say whatever you want to say about me. You can say whatever. You can call me fat, ugly, stupid, everything. But the minute you bring my family in it, all bets are off.
That's where it was like, okay, now I'm about to lose my mind.
Now, I've already dealt with 2 years of this already.
So you're already at a fed up point. Like, let's not take away that part of you is still fed up because you love him when he's sweet and when he's nice and when he's kind. You love him in that moment, and he reminds you of what it was when you first got together. And then there's this like almost, it's like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde that you're dealing with. And now you're like, now you want to disrespect my family. Like, it's bad enough you're already disrespecting me. And that's the selfless part in you because you're just like, you can disrespect me all you want and that's fine. But the moment that he brought your family, so that was a changing point for you.
Yeah, it was like from here, it hasn't been, you have never spoke on them. You have never said anything about them, but I'm already grieving. And then you throw salt on the wound. So now it's over. There's nothing left for you to say to me. Now this is going to be the last final fight, and I'm done. So when I'm facing the knife, he finally throws it down, and he's just hitting me, and he's just hitting me. And his friends are actually outside the door. His friends are on the other side of the door, and at first they're just listening. But now when I had shoulder, he's yelling, "Get in here, get in here, get in here." The door's locked. I locked the door when he came in. I don't like open doors. I don't understand.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But I locked the door. They go downstairs, get a master key from the maintenance, and get in the door. And here we are. All it's them three against me. And you're holding me back, but he's hitting me while you're holding me. He's literally, they're holding me by my arms. They're holding me back against the wall.
So you can continue to be hit.
Jab for jab. Just jab for jab, jab for jab. And at this point, they finally let me go, and I ran. I just ran. I ran out the building. I called my friend. I said, get here now. I said, I'm about to go to jail. I'm about to go to jail. I just did something I shouldn't have done. I'm going to jail. I'm in shock. And so she finally, thank God, she's up the street. She comes flying down the street. And I'm telling them, I was like, all I want at this point, I want my ID and I want my passport and I want my birth certificate. That's all I want. My social security card. That's it. Just my
right. Like the important stuff, you can keep the clothes, the shoes.
Keep it all.
I just give me my important stuff, my documents, and I'm out, right?
Keep it all. At this point, I'm outside with no shoes on, blood all over me. I'm just, it's my blood, it's his blood, it's everything, just all over me. And I'm outside and I'm just waiting for her. And somebody comes up to me, he goes, the police station is right up the street. And I said, yeah, I said, the cops are on their way. I'm sure of it. The cops are on their way. The cops came and I'm telling them what's happening. One cop is upstairs and they're telling me that you're going to get arrested. You just, you just assaulted somebody. So at this point, I'm just like, I'm going to get arrested. I'm going to go to jail. Like I'm sleeping here tonight. And I end up going to the precinct. Thank God.
I think we lost your sound. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, now go ahead. You might have received a call just now. That's okay.
Okay. So thank God I got out that night. Thank you to my friend that I was able to get out. But I had to go to court the next day for it. And he didn't end up pressing charges. He said it was an accident, basically. He said it was an accident. So the judge gave me an ultimatum. He said, there's going to be a cop with you for the next 72 hours. You have 72 hours to leave this state. 72 hours. If you're not gone in 72 hours, we're taking you to jail.
Right, because we want to make sure that you're going to leave.
For defending myself,
right.
I'm going to jail. Yes, you're both going to jail for 72 hours. If you don't leave the state, you're going to jail. So I said, well, that's all you got to tell me. I was like, all I want are my important papers and I will leave. I will not come back here. So they gave me my papers from him. He actually had outstanding warrants in a different state. Outstanding warrants in a different state for the same issue. Never knew. You had no idea. No idea he had outstanding warrants. So, of course, every time the cops run your name,
it's only for that state that you're in. It's not necessarily like, all over.
Right. So we got through that. I ended up leaving 72 hours. I went back home and he ended up a couple months later in jail in a different state. The state actually came, their state police department came and got him and took him back to Ohio. So after that, it was just like, I'm free. I'm sad. I'm hurt. Have the worst PTSD in the world. I need to go to therapy. There's nothing else I can do but go to therapy.
So let me ask you this. So once you realize that you needed to go to therapy, which is a big thing because a lot of people don't understand that when we go through traumatic situations, therapy, people think that therapy is like, I don't know what they think it is, but it's just you talking about your feelings. It's you being able to talk to someone that would be unbiased to your feelings. That's really what it is, right? Yeah. I'm a big advocate for therapy. You guys also know that I'm in therapy and I do it weekly to this day. And let me ask you this. When you first realized like you needed to go to therapy, how quickly did you enroll after into the therapy? Because that's also something that's like one thing to realize, like, yeah, maybe I need therapy, but how long did it take you to say, okay, I know I need therapy to the point where you said, I'm at the therapist's office, I need to see someone? How long did that period take?
What actually triggered me to want to go through therapy is I was so
wow. So you got to that point.
I was to the point because at this point, it's like, I've given everything to you. I've given you my life. I've given you my heart. And if I'm tearing up, I'm sorry. But
please don't be.
Everything. I've literally taken my entire being and put it into you. and I've gotten nothing in return but
Mm.
being beat on, but talking down on.
Right. And feeling like I'm not enough.
I'm not enough.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
I was really, really like
in a low spot. You were at a very
like
low
rock
point.
bottom.
Yeah.
And my mom only kept telling me, the only way from rock bottom is up. You can't get no lower.
You can't get worse. You can't go worse. It can't get any worse than this.
You can't get no lower. So I told my mom, I said, I don't want to be here. I don't think you understand. And it turned into anger to her. Like, why didn't you just abort me? Why didn't you just get rid of me? I wouldn't have to ever deal with this. And I'm blaming her when I should be blaming him.
Blaming him, right.
So it got to a point where I was and my mom was just like, we're going to go to therapy. Okay. She's the one who just put it in my mind. We're going to therapy and we're going immediately.
Okay.
Because you're worth it, And my mom is the type of mom who's constantly pouring affirmations into you.
Right. I know I've had experience with your mom and love her spirit. Like, so I know that if you're saying that she was a driving, motivating force, I know what you mean, because I've met your mom, and your mom is mom is a good mom.
She's amazing, and I owe my life to her. Not because you pushed me out into this world, but
because when she needed to, she saved you. Because in that moment, here it was, is her child is is telling her, I don't want to be here. And it's at the cause of someone else. You're not even saying that you don't want to be here because of something that has happened to you per se, because it's your fault, but you literally did not want to live this earth at the cause of someone else. So she knows it, and it's like, wow. So now that you were removed from that situation and looking back,
of course, I'm still healing from it. It's still things that trigger it, those feelings, all the time. But looking back, I have a testimony. I'm able to say I made it. When I come across people who are in relationships, I let them know, like, look, you're not the only one that's been through this. I've been through this, and I'm still standing. You can get through this. So if you want to go back, that's on you, because I can't make an adult do anything that they don't want to do.
Anything that they don't want to do, right?
But I want you to know I'm in your corner 100%.
Right. So let me ask you this: before, when you came back, right, and within that 72 hours, how did your family receive you? Because it was like all of a sudden you're back, and then you're hurt. How did the rest of the family outside of your mom take that situation? Because you said this is somebody you grew up with, so I know the rest of the family knew him, right? So how did the rest of the family receive that?
My family turned into a mafia. They wanted, they were out for come get it back in blood. Like, they are ready to kill him. Like, I'm ready to go to Arizona right now, and
like, oh, we finna be, and we locked, loaded, ready.
Locked and loaded. To the point where you're buying tickets, you're getting rental cars, you're ready to go to war. And he don't even know what's coming to him. He don't even know.
He has no idea. Yeah.
He has no idea. He thinks that, she not gonna snitch. She not gonna say it was me. She not.
Right.
I'm at a point where I'm just, I don't care anymore. So when I first got there, they're walking on eggshells around me, because they don't know what to say. They didn't expect me to ever go through this. They didn't expect me to ever make it out. So they're completely walking on eggshells the entire time. And it wasn't until I overheard a conversation of them talking about me. And my grandma was telling her, like, she is suicidal. I can see it. She's suicidal. She knew before I knew that I was going to become suicidal. And I hear them talking, and I'm listening to them whisper. It's like when I come into a room, everybody's quiet. When I
they all start talking like, oh.
Yeah, when I walk in, you're quiet, but when I leave, you're immediately talking. So I know you're talking about me.
Right.
But they're literally just trying to adjust to,
how do we be there for her? How do we help this situation? Like, what do we go for? Like, what do we do?
Yeah, to the point where my grandmother literally put twin beds in her room, and I'm sleeping in there, and you're just watching me sleep. Like, just to
Wow.
make sure that I'm
But you know what? That's a level of support that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
So they were trying to be supportive, but it was like, I don't know how to be supportive, but this is what I know to work because I don't. Wow. So that I'm glad that you did have that support, because there are so many women that, and also men. I'm not going to discount or discredit anybody's domestic violence situation, but there are also so many people that don't have this amount of support. So now we're here. You've been in therapy. Have you heard from him, or have you seen him?
I've heard from him several times.
Wow.
He got out of jail. He got out of jail last year.
Okay.
Like 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. And the first thing, he has a girlfriend. The first thing he asks for when he gets out of jail is me. Ask for me. He's trying to reach out to me on every social media, trying to find my number, trying to get his family to reach out to me, all of these things. And there was one message that he actually sent me, and he, it was basically, I'm going to always love you message. I'm going to always love you.
No.
You're always going to be mine. And I just want to talk. I don't want to talk.
But you know what? That is the power of a narcissistic sociopath, to tell you that you're always going to be mine, and to see if he still has that control over you. Like, and that's something that it's like, I'm so glad that you sought out therapy, because little does he know, he needs a lot of therapy. He needs a lot of it. And if he hasn't come to that realization to say, the issue is not all these other people around me, the issue is me, he's going to continuously go through this same cycle, and it's just going to always be with a different woman, until finally either he's, and that's unfortunate, because that's how that cycle goes. Like, it keeps going. It's going to happen with every single one of them until he realizes that he himself is a problem. And if he never realizes that he himself is a problem, that's going to be an issue for someone else later on down the line.
Right. So when he sent that, my immediate thing is to block you. I don't have nothing to say to you.
So proud of you for that. So proud of you.
Yeah, I've already forgiven you. I've come to a realization is, if I'm forgiving you, it's not to let you off the leash. It's for yourself.
It's for me to move on. Me forgiving you, it's for me to move on. So that way I'm sleeping at night. Like, I've done my part. The rest of it is between you and whoever you believe in.
Yeah, it's definitely a selfish thing. So I block them. Because now I've been in therapy, I've realized that communication is key, because I need to communicate with Manny, like, hey, I don't want you to do this because it makes me feel this way. And this is a very familiar feeling, and I don't like that.
Y'all know I deal with Mr. Man, and I promise you that I am always like, from, dealing with the relationships that I have, when it comes to dealing with him, I do have to be very verbal. Now I'm working on compromising, but, I've had to be very verbal when it comes to things that are very triggering for me, to say, hey, this is making me feel like this, and I don't want to feel like that. And it makes me feel like something that I used to deal with, and I don't want to feel like that. And if you don't have a partner who's not willing to make the small, subtle changes that you need, because they understand that this is for your mental health, this is for your well-being. If you don't have a partner that's willing to make those small, subtle changes over time, so that way you guys can have a healthy relationship, you need to rethink that relationship. Right. And that's really what it is. Because, I used to get so mad, like, with Mr. Man, and then it was just like, but then I started to see that you're making the small, subtle changes that I'm asking you to make. You're doing the things that I'm asking you or telling you that, and then I have to do it in return. So if I do something to him that makes him feel uncomfortable, you have to be willing to do that in return. If you don't have that type of relationship, or if I question you and then all of a sudden your first instinct is to put your hands on me, this is not the relationship I need to be in.
Right.
Because nothing that you ask, nothing that you say, and honestly, nothing that you do, even if you were to cheat, should result in someone putting their hands on you.
Exactly.
Like, let's talk about it. Like, there should be no reason that your significant other should ever lay their hands on you. It should never be, oh, it's an accident, I'm sorry. I mean, I get it unless like you're doing something and then their natural instinct, like, or you run up on them and they're scared and they didn't know what was behind them. I understand that, but if they're wailing on you because you're asking questions, and in your situation, it was, hey, you're supposed to have cancer.
Yeah.
Where's the medicine? And I'm pretty sure that you didn't even come at him foul for him to feel like, oh, I'm just gonna beat you up now. But it was because now that I'm caught, and now I need you to stay in your place.
Right.
And the only thing I know to do is to beat you.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Like, don't question me.
Friend.
It was, don't question me. I'm the man of the house. You don't question the man of the house. And I'm just looking at you like, I don't know.
Like, sorry, where they do that at? Like,
I don't know who you think you are. I don't know where they do this at, but I can't do it. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, and it was even worse because the entire time I'm saying I'm not going to be like my mom, but here I am, 3 years in deep, and I'm exactly like the woman who pushed me
I said I wasn't going to be. I'm doing everything that I said I wasn't going to do. It was, I see my mom getting beat on. You know what? I'm not going to be in a relationship like that. And then, but here's the thing. Let me ask you this. Did it cause you to kind of understand your mom and be a little bit more understanding to her or sympathetic to her? Because it was like, you know what? Now I understand why you just couldn't walk away.
It actually made us way more closer. Than ever. I mean, before I moved, me and her were kind of rocky, which was made it so easy for me to move because we're in a rocky position.
Right. It was like, let me go.
Over it. So when I came back and I was actually putting into reality that this is exactly why you didn't leave when you should have left. I started to say, I'm sorry for things that you don't even know that I talked and said about you, but I said it in my mind. I'm sorry. Right. Because I didn't know how hard it was to get out until I was in the position where I was forced to get out.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? But I'm glad that the situation happened because it made you who you are. You are a person that has a voice for the people. That is something I have always recognized in you from the time that we became friends. There's certain types of people that are built for, being able to talk to the people. And you were someone that has always captured that, and you've always had that. And the fact that you had to go through something like that and you can use your voice for positivity and use your voice in ways that others don't necessarily understand, and you can persuade people. You have that. It's almost like having this certain type of je ne sais quoi, and you have it, right? And the fact that this relationship with you and your mom, because when I see you and your mom, I think of me and my mom.
That's right.
And I think of like how close I am with Mama Fluff. Those that have, you guys know me and Mama Fluff is like this, Right. So when I see you and your mom, I'm like, oh, they're like me and my mom, And I'm glad that it happened because I feel like you were only as good as the people who brought you up, right? And you can only possess what they've taught you. And if they've never taught you anything, it was like you learned the most valuable lesson, because you may have judged her as a child, like, why is she still with this dude? He beats on her, and you're judging her, right? And it wasn't until you go through that situation yourself and you're like, I can't judge you for that.
Remember what I said?
Right. Like, you know what? I understand.
I'm sorry.
And it's like coming to that point where you're like, I understand her and she understands me. And now you and her have an unbreakable bond that can't be shattered by any little thing. We can get mad at each other and then 2 days later we back best friends, period. That's how I go.
Period. That's literally when I say my best friend, like my best friend. And it's because we understand each other. We understand what we've been through. We don't judge each other for it. My mom would call me like, girl, guess what this person said to me? That's the conversation. And
right.
And I'm so grateful for it, because before that situation, I didn't have that relationship. So I was afraid to call you and tell you what was going on. So you didn't tell me, like,
Right.
Olivia.
When now you're like, you wouldn't even think twice. You're like, let me call my mom. Soon as something happens, let me tell y'all, when somebody call me and tell me some tea, the first thing I do, I'll be like, okay, soon as we get off the phone, girl, mom, let me tell you what happened.
I'll be ready on the phone, mom. So let me tell you who called me. And
Right.
Is that even right? And she'd just be looking at me. She'd be like, girl, let me tell you what I heard. Like, that's the conversation every time. Like, every time. But there's never a time. And it takes a lot for me to even get mad at her. I think when I'm mad at her, it's because you're allowing people to walk over you. And I'm like, Mom, we're better than this. Like, we've been through this already.
We've been through some shit already. So why are we? No, you know? Yeah, no. And that's fair. And that's fair. So ultimately, it was this hard situation you dealt with for quite some time in your life. It brought you closer and being more intuitive with your feelings, because now you're like, look, I can go to therapy. I have a relationship with my mom. You know, I have better insight on the type of healthier relationships. And it is unfortunate, and I do have to say this, that yes, you do have to go through things in your life to continuously have healthier relationships when dealing with other people. You know, and it's only when you start disregarding them and you're being treated a way that you don't want to be treated, and you're stuck in that situation, and that's when you see women on Snapped. And that's because those women didn't have a voice. Those women didn't know how to communicate. They didn't know how to run away. And so now you see them and they're on Snapped, and it's years later, they're in jail, and that's what happens. But fortunately for you, you were able to get away from that situation. Ultimately proud of who you have become and what you're going into. Like, I'm here to tell you that. So if no one else has told you, I am here to tell you that. You know, right. And it's just, you know, it's amazing to hear that you have come out of that situation and you are now in a relationship that is healthy, you know, where you're able to communicate. And I know that feels different, because that's scary. Because you're like,
it is scary. I'm like, me and him have been together for almost 3 years now. I mean, you remember when I slid into those DMs.
I remember when the DMs happened. I remember when it all took place. Like, I was there.
It's so scary. We've been in a relationship for almost 3 years, and I can count on one hand how many times we argued. One hand.
And it's like it's being with a person that you can truly be who you are and express how you feel. And if something's wrong, you have the platform to say so, and vice versa. You know, it's being able to communicate. And that's what a lot of the situations with domestic violence, they take out the whole point of communication, because it's usually one person that is the aggressor, and there is no communicating to that person, because they're very, what I say goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My biggest thing when I first got into the relationship with him, because it's so healthy, I was like, are you talking to somebody else? Are you
like, you gotta be cheating.
You gotta be doing something. There's no way you're just going to work and you're coming home. There's no way. And he actually, his mom is a victim of domestic violence.
Okay.
So he has a soft spot for victims of domestic violence. And I be telling him all the time, like, I'm not no victim. I conquered that. I'm not a victim.
Right. Like, I'm not a victim anymore. A victim is somebody who's currently going through something. I'm not currently going through that.
And I told him all the time, I said, I'm not a victim. I made it through it. I conquered that.
Come through.
I conquered that part of my life. I'm over that part of my life. You know, there's still things that we learn about each other, especially when it comes to triggers. And because he's grown up with domestic violence, he also has his own triggers, and his own form of PTSD, even though it's years later.
Yeah.
So he's very understanding. He knows that when Liv starts to be quiet and she's just shut, because I'm talkative. I'll talk all day. I don't care.
Yeah, I know, me and you. I mean, still here on this episode, they're like, y'all go. No, we're getting there.
You gotta tell me to shut up. He knows when Liv is quiet, when Liv just wants to be by herself, when she's going through the motions, and it's okay. Let me cry it out. And I'll be telling him all the time, like, look, I'm gonna cry every single day if I got to, because I need to let it out. And he's just very nurturing to that, PTSD to it.
Right.
So I'm so grateful. Like, he's even taught me how a relationship is supposed to be. You know what
I
I mean?
love that. I love that because it's going to say that if you are in a domestic violence situation and you escape from that situation, it does not mean that you cannot go on and have other relationships afterwards. It just
Right.
means that when you get in those relationships, you now know the boundaries that you need to have. You now understand the, openness that you need to have, the honesty that you need to have. It's all these things of understanding of the type of healthy relationship you want to have. And I'm glad that you said that, because what you're letting our people know is that you can leave that situation. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna go through the motions, but I promise you, when you get to where you're going, it's a beautiful thing,
It's
because
so
you may end up
moving.
with a person who understands you completely.
Hmm.
And it's unfortunate because it always happens with people that we don't think that it would have happened with. But things happen, people change. We don't know, because in all honesty, we don't know what he was going through to make him feel like he needed to put his hands on you. You know what I mean? We don't know what was the motivating factor. Not that it matters at this point, but, and not that it excuses it. But some people do act, and they have these instincts and they're going through things because of their own PTSD, their own background. And again, not to excuse any of the behavior, because as an adult, we all make decisions, right? We all make our own decisions, and
Right.
that's fine. But I love that you shared with us what happened to you during that situation. And I love that you also shared how you conquered it. The people that you leaned on, you went through a situation, you went through therapy, you had friends, you had family, it brought you back to you, spending time with yourself to understand, how do I grow past this? So I love that you were able to reflect on that with us. You didn't cry too much, which I'm glad.
Because y'all know I'm a crybaby.
Right. Y'all know Liv be crying. Okay. And so I do want to go ahead and start closing us out. And if you guys are experiencing a situation, please seek help. There is help out there for you. There is a plethora of resources out there for you. There are phone numbers for you to call. There are shelters that the address and name are not given, that you can go into to help seek refuge. Those type of things are available to you. Most people can call 211 to get that information, because that is the local information to you. If you are in Los Angeles, California, please reach out to me. I do have that information ready and available for you. I do have people that you can go and talk to. Again, if you are in Los Angeles County, when it comes to, as again, I do work with that type of population as well. Please do not feel alone out there, because there are so many people that are going through this. There are people in high school. There are people in, adulthood that are going through this. Please do not feel like you are alone. Reach out and tell someone. Do not be a victim. You don't have to be a victim.
Don't be afraid. If I'm across the world, you can still reach out.
Yes.
I have a room. You can call this your safe house. I don't care what it is. Don't feel like you have to go through it alone, even if it's a stranger. I'm a stranger to a lot of people, but guess what? You'll never know that we went through the same exact thing, and you can make it through.
Yes, you can make it through. Liv is she is a survivor of this, and she is telling her story, and y'all see how beautiful she is today. She got skin out, ain't no scars showing, ain't no bruises. You can make it out of this. You can do it. And if you need that help, if you need someone to talk to and need someone to confide in, you can definitely go to either one of our channels. You can come here, you can slide in my DMs, you can slide in hers. Her information will also be available in the description and in the comment section as well. And Liv, again, thank you so much for telling your story. And I know it couldn't have been easy, but I'm so glad that we were able to open it up and then be able to close it back up, and we can put it back up on the shelf, right? We can.
Thank you so much for having me on here, because now I feel official. I'm on
Yes!
I would just put it out there. This is a whole TV show.
Yes!
I'm so happy that we were able to make this work, because I'm glad that I'm able to share my story, and hopefully somebody is relating to
yes.
it.
Someone can relate to it. And and shout out to your mom for being that support system, and we love you, Mom. Thank you so much. And to my own mother, thank you for always being there and being that strong motivating force, so that we know we don't have to put up with this type of nonsense that is going on out in the world. But with that being said, y'all, We are out. I'm just about out of wine, but please understand it. Oh, it is okay. Absolutely okay to have your worries in wine. Mm, yes, this Chardonnay. I'm about to get some more. I'm about to go steal the other bottle. So, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in. We hope to see you guys soon. Bye.